Good evening. Welcome to HBCU Delaware Talks. Thank you for allowing me, us, we, to be in your living room this evening. Talk about some good old historical black colleges and universities, a lot of things that's happening in our community, our education, our schools, everything that we're going to be able to uplift our community with. So thank you for tuning in. Before I get started, I want to give a little moment of silence for the event that occurred yesterday in Florida and say a little prayer in our thoughts for the families of the victims that have gone through such a tragedy. So I just want to take a moment of silence for them. Thanks. Crime all over the place because there's a lack of, and that bothers me. And it's bothering our country. But even before that, happy Black History Month.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for Black History Month. And before I even talk about you all, I want to talk about a gentleman who needs to be celebrated this month. My grandfather, the late Edward Loper Sr., who we haven't really celebrated, but we will during Black History Month, especially in our town. We can't go without recognizing some of the historians in the city of Wilmington, the state of Delaware, United States of America. So I'm thanking you, historical black colleges and universities, for allowing me to be in this set right now. Thanks for college. But let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Edward Loper, the past, or the late Edward Loper, if you could look at a picture of him so you can get a visual, if you could tune right in on him. Edward Loper, born 1916 in Wilmington, Delaware. April 7th, in fact, he has a birthday coming up on the east side. We're going to name a street after him. Right, City Council? Right, City of Wilmington? Put him out there a little bit. He graduated from Howard High School. He received a football and basketball scholarship to an HBCU, which was Lincoln University. But he didn't attend because he had, different things to take care of during those times where money and finances was hard. He married my grandmother, the late Viola Virginia Cooper. He worked at the Delaware Division. This is in 1936. By the way, he did marry in 1935. He worked at the Progress Administration Index of American Design. He began painting on his own. He visited the Howard Pyle Collection, the third floor of the library building in Wilmington, Delaware. So there's a lot of history about the late Edward Loper. As we moved down to 1937, he did a painting called After a Shower. I wonder what that was all about. My grandfather did have a lot of interest in that of the female species, and he did a lot of his abstract art with women, or about taking art from women and painting pictures using the abstract. He was the prophet of color. Okay, but we're going to celebrate him. We're going to continue to celebrate him amongst Wilmington, Delaware. But now, your turn. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show. We have two gentlemen here who are doing a lot of things in Wilmington, Delaware, and I thank you. And you can introduce yourselves in your own way, and then we just go into the conversation.
Sure. So I'm Aaron Bass. I'm CEO of Vision Academies. We're Eastside Charter School and Charter School of Newcastle. We have 3 different schools doing some amazing work here in Delaware. We are working with students from pre-K all the way through age 23. And so we're the only schools that will stay with children after they graduate from our 8th grade into high school. We actually support them through high school. We support them in college. And then after students graduate from college, we actually support them into finding their first jobs. We have our own scholarship funds. So we invested $1 million into our own scholarship fund to make sure that we can remove any impediments for our children as we can. And then also, we have staff that go into the high schools to support our children, staff that work with them all the way through. Our key is making sure that our families, when you are working with some incredible young people and with incredible families, that you need to guarantee the work that you're doing. And so that's why we made a commitment to our education. We also make an impact on our community. I'm also here representing BMAC Delaware, so we have Black Male Educators Convening. So organization we started in Philadelphia few years ago of just wanting to develop black men in education. And from that, we've now started a different site here. So we're glad to be here representing that as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. I'm also happy to be a part of that work. My name is Stephen Robertson. I am an educator over at Charter School of Newcastle, teaching out a self-designed program called LEAD, which is Leadership, Exploration, Advocacy, and Personal Development. In addition, I'm also representing BMAC as a part of the Delaware initiation. In addition, I'm also the founder of Hub for Humanity. Hub for Humanity.
Hub. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I'll just get a little background information, although you did. Are you from Wilmington, Delaware?
Unfortunately not. So I'm not from Delaware, but I'm definitely a huge fan. I'm glad to be here. I've bought a home here, so I'm staying forever.
Good.
At least 30 years when I pay my mortgage off. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be embraced by an incredible community here in Delaware.
Awesome. You from Wilmington?
I'm not from Wilmington, but I do currently live in Wilmington. Originally from Philadelphia, and got my start out here as a public ally, which I'm very proud of. And through that service, I've grown to love and appreciate what the community stands for and where it's headed.
Over at Eastside Charter, some of your programs that you all have over at Eastside, what are you doing over there at Eastside which makes your school great?
Well, it's interesting being a part of a network. So the things that we do within one school, we do within our other schools. So one, if you look at Charter School of Newcastle, you look at Eastside Charter, we love our kids. That is number one. We are planning with their best interests in mind. We are spending every dollar and cent with their best interests in mind. We are focusing them on the future, so future focus in every conversation. What do you want to be when you become your career goal? And then having that conversation, the reason we called it Vision Academies is because we want to have a child be able to say, I want to become a doctor. In second grade, I want to become a lawyer. In third grade, I want to become a teacher. Whatever you want to be, what we see over time is that as children grow up and they get older, their opportunities become smaller and smaller and smaller. And that is not a result of the child, it's a result of the adults. It's a result of the community around, it's a result of the how we deal with even our own legislation and policy. It's because we're not putting children first. And so for us, the key focus is we want to make sure that we're giving children access to the arts. We're giving children access to great sports. We're giving children access to strong educators. We're empowering our teachers to be effective so that they can actually get feedback on what they're doing because they want to empower those young people. And then it's also engaging with parents. I think something we've really latched onto is if we empower our parents, we're in a much better situation for our children. And so we've done things like we've had job fairs for parents. We've done resume building. We've had computer classes for parents. We have set up food pantries for parents. We've set up clothing drives for parents. We also want to empower parents. So when parents are looking for their own employees,
Sure.
because a lot of times we have a conversation where we want to give but not empower. And so for us, the key distinction is making sure that if you have a need, we can help you fulfill that need, but also for families that are able to provide jobs, provide assistance, provide teaching, provide instruction, provide even care for other people. Let's have our parents actually be able to build together and have an impact.
So the majority of your school students at Eastside, they're from that area?
From
Or they're
Eastside.
all over they're all over Wilmington, or
For Eastside Charter, 25% are from that area.
25%?
Yeah.
Good.
And then from our schools, we pull from north is Claymont all the way down to Bear area.
really?
But the bulk of our children, Charter School Newcastle pulls, we try to pull from our community. Eastside is the same thing, trying to make sure that, one, we make an impact on our community. That is we're doing this work because we want to see Newcastle and Wilmington change. We want to see it be changed by the students and the youth of that community. And so 20, 30 years from today, we want to see our city council people be from our schools. We want to see our next teachers, our next mayors, our next business leaders, our doctors, our lawyers, be there and also be a representation of, I grew up here, and this is why I choose to serve this area.
Cool. Oh, what about Newcastle? You're a teacher at Newcastle, right?
I'm a teacher at Charter School Newcastle, yep.
And what do you teach again? I'm sorry.
Lead for Humanity, so it's leadership, exploration, advocacy, and personal development, making sure that our young people understand the inside of themselves, so social emotional learning. They're gaining access to leadership skills that aren't commonly taught in a explicit manner, right? So typically they get the experience tacit, going out and doing something, going out and being involved in the community. Now that kind of puts that information written down on paper. These are the steps that you can take. And then in addition, they're building up the 40 developmental assets to become a whole child, right? So typically we refer to our children secondary to the issue, right? Our children have a problem and then they're a child. This kind of puts them first, helps them holistically develop, and then puts them back into the world saying, I'm confident to be who I am and understanding how I can contribute to society.
Awesome. What's the grade levels at Newcastle?
Charter School Newcastle starts off at kindergarten,
K?
Yep.
all the
Okay.
way up
K
to
to
8th
eight.
grade.
K8, and as well as the
So East Side is pre-K through 8th grade.
pre-K. Awesome. You know, I think it's awesome to see black men in schools. You know, it's not a lot of us, but it's growing a little bit, you know, but we have many women in schools, and it's hard sometimes for our kids, you know, especially, I teach at Tally Middle School. When a lot of our kids, it's not many of us African-American men in the schools, you know. So when a kid sees that, it kind of gives them a little more hope, because sometimes we have a lot of kids that have hopelessness, and we have to change that mindset. A lot of people go into education thinking that they're going to get paid. We don't get paid a whole lot of money, but you really have to have a passion for education and for kids, and to spread that love that we have, you know. And I think that's good what you all are doing in the schools, in Wilmington, in Newcastle, in Delaware. What are some of the things that's coming up, or some of the events that may be coming up at your school, or at your schools, I'm sorry?
So I can think about, so we have a Black History program taking place
Sure.
the end of February. It's February. I'll come back after the commercial break and tell you the exact date.
Okay.
But that's a great chance for people to come and see at Charter School Newcastle how our children are learning from the past and actually using that for their future. We have, we're working on a project right now at Charter School Newcastle, a collaboration between the YMCA's of Bear and Western YMCA, the Newcastle County government, and Charter School of Newcastle. And we've combined to build what I think is one of the best out-of-school programs through the 21st century we've seen in Delaware. And it's the first time you have an actual government agency working with the YMCA's and working with the school.
Awesome.
And so we're since you push on city council, we're also pushing the 21st century grant come through, because that's going to, one, provide a great opportunity for our children at Charter School of Newcastle, but two, it's also going to focus on how we can replicate this other places in Delaware, how government can work with community agencies and work with schools, because the end result is that our children actually do better off that way. Other things we're doing. So I know that there's parent events taking place. I know
Sure.
Eastside Charter School has an event tomorrow with our parents taking place. We'll have a chance to interact with the parents there and have our students showcase their work. And then we also do a few different things between fathers and daughters and mothers and sons at both of our schools towards the spring.
I'd like to see how we, HBCU Delaware Coalition, could get involved with some of the things. Do you all promote historical black colleges and universities at the school? Do you have any paraphernalia there at your school? If not, we want to make sure that we get some of that over to your school, some pamphlets or anything from any historical black college or university. I know we celebrate Delaware State, which is our only historical black college or university here in Delaware, but we would like to also promote all colleges, because we want to see all kids go to school, just maybe. And sometimes we say that college is not for everybody, but everybody can go to college. So on that thought, I'm going to go to a couple minutes break, or a 2-minute break maybe. So hold that thought. Don't touch that dial.
North Carolina, of the Aggies in the house. Let me hear you make some noise. Now can I get an Aggie cry? Ladies and
welcome back to HBCU Delaware Talks. Thank you for allowing us to be in your living room this evening. I want to also send my condolences out to one of our chapter members, Norfolk State Alumni Chapter, that's Colleen Stribling and her family. I just ask that you keep them in prayer to the loss of a loved one. And I'm praying for you, Colleen, and I'm just hoping and praying that everybody's going to be all right. So thank you for all that you do in Norfolk State Alumni Chapter. Norfolk State University, college in which I attended. HBCUs. We love talking about historical black college experience. Do you all ever talk black college experience at your schools?
Yes, sir. Yes,
all
we
the
do.
time.
If you walk through our schools, you'll be able to see college pennants, and you'll be able to see HBCUs through our colleges. Through our schools and through our hallways. If you have more swag, we'll take it.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're definitely not turning down any swag because we want our children to be able to have as many options as possible.
Sure.
HBCUs, we're huge fans of that, and so we've partnered with Eastside Charter Schools, building a partnership with Del State University because we're trying to make sure there's opportunities for our young people, especially in the Wilmington area, as well as building partnerships with Charter School Newcastle. So we actually have children who, because we're following them through college until they even graduate and into their first career, we're going to make sure that we're partnering with great organizations where our children can thrive. We already know historically that black people have done really well at HBCUs.
Sure. And that's true. I agree. Maybe one of these days we could partner with you, the Historical HBCU Delaware Coalition, and have a college fair over at your school or one of your schools just to celebrate and show our community. That, because sometimes we look at charter schools and we look at public schools and we try to weigh it out, but we're looking at kids totally and making sure that they get everything they need so that they can be successful. So it doesn't matter to me whether a child goes to a charter school or public school. I do, by the way, sir, promote public schools, but I mean charter schools are all right, and I'm okay with charter school. I used to teach at a charter school, so I get it.
Charter schools are public schools too.
Yeah.
And so the only difference is, charter versus district schools, there's always that fight and as a conversation takes place, it's a false conversation of which is better, charters versus district. Truthfully, who's educating children? And if you put a label on a school, you can walk up to any building, brick and mortar, and put charter or district on that building. And if you're not educating the people inside that building, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
And so we're trying to figure out how to partner with people in district and charter spaces that are doing well. And so even for BMAC, we're a collaboration of charter school leaders, of charter teachers, of district leaders and district teachers. Why? Because we're trying to figure out, right now there's an epidemic in America. Only 2% of educators across the entire nation are black men. Only 2%. And so when we're serving communities we serve, especially when you're seeing so many students of color and so many young men of color, if I'm looking and only 2% of my teachers are black men, then what does that mean for me and my hope and my future? So we're trying to make sure that we're able to recruit, retain, and empower men of color all throughout education.
I noticed there's a lot of gun violence in Wilmington. What are we going to do? What can we do collectively as African American men to kind of curtail or to stop some of this nonsense violence? They say it has to start in a home where the parents probably need to really raise their kids. I get it. Sometimes they say it's the police, we need better policing. What do you think we need to do as far as stopping or curtailing some of this crime that goes on in Wilmington? Because it's out there. I mean, and in fact, I'll be honest with you, it's not just Wilmington. It's a lot of urban cities where this is happening. So what is the problem? What is the issue as to why these kids are shooting each other? What do you think? I mean, we don't have the answers, but I just want to get your thoughts on it. Get your thoughts on it, and then we can collaborate about it.
Well, I definitely don't have the solution, and through my own life, I've seen my own share of this experience. And what I can say is that the more we all get involved as black people, black fathers, black brothers, sisters, all the people that make up whatever community is that is being attacked in this way, the more we get involved, the more we start to take action on concepts like interdependence, the more we push education. I even think about the fact that there was a study done that produced a number of 30 million fewer words are spoken to low-income children than are higher income families, right? And so when you look at that word gap, 30 million words, you have less ability to communicate, less ability to share your ideas, what you're thinking of, and in that frustration, it creates other problems, right? And then you add on concepts like food insecurity and food deserts. There's a whole array of things that need to be attacked in order for us to move forward and achieve this idea of peace or an oasis, right? And so a couple of things I think of is education and attacking food deserts, because before a child even comes to school, they're battling the concept of, do I smell okay? Are my clothes raggedy? Have I eaten? Those things are bothering their minds. And then think about when you go to work, right? If you haven't had a good meal, what's your day look like? Some people start their day with coffee, right? And so when you think about these things, and then you think about someone who's underdeveloped, trying to get their education, fighting through the storm of their life, whether it be gun violence or different things like that, it comes down to, are we supporting our families and communities properly, and who else still needs to get involved in order to make this happen?
I mean, Stephen said it more eloquent than me.
It's okay.
And when you think about the amount of people who are being incarcerated, there's a constant trend around the amount or level of attainment of education.
Sure.
And so we do know there's a strong correlation, there's a strong causal relationship between your high school diploma and your success in life. We know you even have a higher success with a college degree. And so for us, the key thing is trying to make sure that when we have a young person who has an option of, I want to be this certain thing, what is happening within our community, within our schools, that a child who wants to be a doctor in kindergarten now is I can only do this certain job at a supermarket later on in life. Something changed for that child, and you can't blame a 5-year-old. And so I do think it's a bigger focus on how we deal with providing education, how we deal with special needs, how we deal with trauma, how we deal with making sure that employment. Because when mom and dad, or just mom or uncle or grandma, aren't able to work at a job for 40 hours, so they're working at a job for 80 hours. And they still have food insecurity, and they still have daycare issues, then something's not working well within our own country. And then when there's a child who can't figure out, so what's my path to success later on in life, that there's something taking place that we're not doing. And so I do think that while we don't have the solution right here, I do think it is a collaboration between, one, just our politicians. How are we spending our dollars as a nation, as a community, as a city, as a locale, as a state? How are we funding our children? How are we actually making sure that with our police departments? Because the police are also crying out in the conversations I've been having with different officers and captains, et cetera, they're trying to figure out then how to engage with community. And then you have schools trying to figure out how can we solve this. We need to get to the same table.
What is your response to when they ask, how do you engage the community? How do you respond? I mean, because a lot of people in the community, they say, well, the police need to be more visible.
Mm-hmm.
They need to walk the block or walk the streets. But how do we engage the community? Because right now, there's a lot of fear. Mm-hmm. And people are fearful because when there's a shooting going on, nobody wants to talk because they don't want to be next. So how do you engage the community when we talk about the police, or as far as police are concerned? What do you think, what do you think should be done as far as police being more engaged in the communities?
I'm a big fan of community policing. And I think when we think about terms of community and police and being these big nebulous terms, the truth is it's human versus human, a human and a human. And so how to figure out where I've seen police officers who come from the community have a strong impact there because they know people, they have history, they actually they know who to talk to. That means something, and it's also because I also have a trust built in with that certain person, that certain officer. But I think it's also bigger around than why do you have a child or a youth that might be committing a crime? And that's also a conversation around, so what are their options? Mm-hmm. To get to a point of being 16 and having a gun and deciding to make a bad decision, you didn't just wake up 16 with the gun and certain limited options.
I really I think it's contributed to illiteracy. A lot of kids don't read on grade level. You don't read on grade level, you don't see the big picture. You see, but you don't comprehend. You don't understand. If you do this, this can happen. You don't understand the cause and effect. And by them not understanding the cause and effect, they're shooting. Kids getting guns. That's a problem. We're not doing, we in the community really have got to do something. Are we fearful? I don't know. But we have got to do something as far as these kids. And we have to have big literacy programs all over the city of Wilmington. Schools have to be open after school hours. Clubs, we have Brown's Boys Club, we have Frames Boys Club. There's no Jackson Street Boys Club. Boys have to go somewhere to learn how to become men. And I get the Boys and Girls Club theory. I understand the motto. Boys still need to be around some positive men in their lives. And sometimes a lot of the parents, a lot of the dads are in jail. So sometimes we have to be the parent in the schools. So right now our community is suffering because lack. And now we're building, we've revitalized, which is a great thing. I mean, for us, we call it revitalization. Someone that may not have it call it gentrification. But we revitalized, which is good. How do these kids get these jobs? How do we hire within the communities? How do we teach our kids right from wrong? Our kids, back in the day when I was in school, our competition was who's going to make the highest grades. Kids today don't even want to be known for being that A student. So my problem is, how do we change that mindset? See, I believe that really what we have this fixed mindset in this reactive city, and we're under a good old boy network. We really have to have a growth mindset. We need to be proactive and transparent. Where's the transparency? We can grow. What I do see is that we working all over the place in silos. When are we going to come together and work as one for the greater good, for the greater cause? How do we make that happen?
Well, one thing I want to highlight is that I think that it's happening with the different organizations that we're mentioning, right? So between the work of BMAC, between the work of the Vision Academy schools, Eastside Charter and Charter School of Newcastle, between organizations that are supporting these institutions and supporting the community like Public Allies and Hub for Humanity, all these organizations coming together doing actual real work. When you're spending 8+ hours a day, not only just like the teaching aspect of it, not only the after school programming aspect of it, not only getting involved in the families' lives, but also the planning time that you're spending, right, after work that you're not really getting paid for. That's the quality that you need to see not only in the classroom, but also within the community. So when you're talking about like finding places that really do this, you're thinking about institutions like we're mentioning here today. The work is happening, it just needs to be multiplied 10 times. And once you hit that, once you build that system, that's when you can expect something to really start clicking and really start changing over.
And I think it's good to even highlight that too. The fact that it is happening, the fact that there are those conversations taking place. It is very easy to focus on the negative. It's very easy to get news footage or media footage or something negative happening. If a shooting happens right now, guaranteed without any press release, you will find tons of media attention right there. You don't always find it in Stephen's classroom.
You're right.
You don't always find it in the hallways of Charter School Newcastle, of Eastside Charter. You don't always find it in a meeting between Newcastle County government and Charter School of Newcastle. And those things are happening right now. For example, what was it, Tuesday, between our 3 schools, we had 600 people come out to a basketball game to honor the first African-American woman to get her law degree past the bar in Delaware. It was amazing. And the mayor of Wilmington gave us the 600 tickets. We didn't get any big press about it. Nothing huge that came out of it. But the fact that you had parents coming out with their children, the fact that you had people engaging with the Newcastle County executive, so Matt Myers is also there, and the Governor Carney is also there. And it's a great event, but it's also, we need to provide more opportunities like that. And then showcase things like that, because that's also, we had 600 people, young people who were out for a positive reason on a Tuesday night. But if I had 600 young people out on a corner on Tuesday night, late into the night, it'd be a different conversation. So it is happening, but we need to also make sure that we're empowering those people who are doing those things.
Interesting. And on that thought, I'm going to go to a break, but I'm asking, HBCUs are rising up, and it's a documentary that's coming on February 19th, all over the country, about HBCUs rising up. And it just tells you the history about historical black colleges and universities from where they were, where they are, and where they are going. So can you just show the excerpt as we go to the break, and we'll be right back.
The question for African Americans has always been, what is education's purpose? Who controls it? And what is the relationship of education to the broader aspirations of our people?
The more the system denies you the chance to read and to write, the more that becomes a prize that you must have.
Black colleges were redefining what it meant to be black in America. You were pursuing a career where intellect mattered.
An educated black population could not be an enslaved black population.
If you weren't out there demonstrating, then something had to be wrong with your school.
We wanted freedom now, but whites were not prepared for any changes here.
I think they should be kept out any way possible.
A slaveholder could work a slave to death. He could rape a slave. He could do virtually anything but teach a slave how to read or write.
As soon as the war breaks out, the first thing they want is to get an education.
They wanted those schools to be as free as possible from paternalism, from racism, whether subtle or blatant.
Movements are easily birthed on HBCU's campuses.
We must love and protect each other.
We're all going through the same experience.
HBCU is somewhere where I can be completely myself.
The black college experience provides the place to be in the majority. That is such a unique and empowering experience.
This HBCU experience has taught me that anything is possible as long as you have that one spark.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be in your living room. Tell them we are rising. HBCUs are rising. And I'm excited. I'm excited that we have an HBCU coalition in Delaware. I'm excited that these organizations will begin, organizations with like minds, will begin to work together, because I've noticed that we do silo work, but as you said, it can come together. The more that we promote, the more that we promote each other. Just like you said, BMAC, oh, that's awesome. Tell me a little bit more about BMAC again.
Yep.
Sir?
Sure, tell me about BMAC.
Black Male Educators Convening. When you think about the idea that only 2% of black male, 2% of educators are black male, right? So when I think about this holistically, if you're a young child growing up, the school that I went to, there were no black male teachers. I had one black male teacher when I was in high school, and he was the only person who gave me an F. He was not satisfied with my sports achievements. He was not satisfied with my academic achievements, and so he gave me the grade that I deserved. One of the most impactful people that has ever touched my life. And so when you think about that, I'd like to reflect that across the nation, right? So having people like Aaron Bass involved, even having you come out to our next meeting is very important.
Third Thursday every month. That's when we meet up.
The third Thursday?
Third Thursday every month.
So you can have your next meeting here on the set.
Wow.
Listen,
maybe not March, but we maybe do April.
I've been trying to, and I wanted to get a lot of male teachers, black male teachers, to come on the set to talk about their craft and what they do, you know. And you said, I like that. I like it. You know, HBC Coalition, we're 501c3, and I'm trying, working on a grant to have certified teachers go into these rec centers, go into these clubs, teach reading, teach math skills, you know, and they're getting it, and these kids are going to grow, because I'm telling you, when they see more, you know, it's like, wow, you know, it's like when just to see a black male in a classroom, you know, it's like, wow, we have a lot of black male in the school, but it's not a lot of them in the classroom per se, you know. So when we see that and we come together, can you imagine how powerful that is? BMAC. How many brothers do you have in that organization?
So we started in Philadelphia.
Really?
And we, the conference we did, there was about 600 brothers there.
Really?
From around the nation.
From around the country, from California, from Atlanta, from HBCUs, from districts. There's even Johns Hopkins did a study that shows that in North Carolina, they studied students there, and they saw that if you have a black teacher, the chances for between 3rd and 5th grade. Just having a black teacher, not teacher effectiveness, not anything else. They just looked at having a black teacher between 3rd and 5th grade. Your chances to go into college increased by 30%. The dropout rate decreased by 39%. And the only factor that separated was having a black teacher between 3rd and 5th grade. And so there's a lot of work that's done into the study. And it talks about why you might give an F, because the black teachers have a higher, according to the study, they have a higher expectation for their students. That black teachers will have a high expectation as far as academics and culture. And so they're looking to try to figure out, then how do you increase the amount of blacks in education, also black men in education? That same study also found out that when it was a black man that was between 3rd and 5th grade, the college going rate and the dropout rate had an even bigger increase.
Wow. Good. We're not taking anything away from female, trust me, black female. We're not taking anything away from that.
No.
But we don't see a lot of us in this education thing. And I didn't know about BMAC. And yes, how many BMAC members are from HBCUs? I'll just put it out there, just a question.
I don't know if we were broke down.
Or if you ever look at, because we want to get involved. You know, I mean, that's a like mine, and education is the key to stopping all this nonsense. I'm excited now.
Yeah. Listen, I think that you should be involved. I think that HBCUs and those who represent them should come out. I think that if we can do some big work together where the numbers increase, I think that where the dollars should increase, right? Because that's a part of the struggle of getting into HBCUs. People gotta afford it. And I think by us collaborating, that creates the greater opportunity. By creating scholarships, that creates the greater opportunity. By being inside the homes, inside the schools, that connection opportunity is so pivotal to our community that when it happens, people won't, like, it's gonna blow minds. So I'm like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you know, and not to go away from this, but I do want to mention, because we're talking about education, the 3 college fairs that are coming up. March 13th, there's a college fair at Dickinson High School, Red Clay Consolidated School District. That's March 13th, 6:30 to 8:30. March 15th, City of Wilmington is putting on a college fair at Howard High School of Technology, Howard Tech. And that's March 15th. I hope I'm not wrong, because you know I'm going from the muscle. So that's March 15th, 6 to 8. And then there's a HBCU college fair. It's a MEAC/CIAA college fair in Philadelphia on March 17th. We're going to be representing kids. We need you all to come out, or students, we need you all to come out and just check it out. Check out the college fair. Check out all the information that is there. And we need to get you in college. We would love to see you go to college. And again, if you don't, we still want you to get educated. We need you off the streets. We need you in some type of career where you're going to be successful. I think we could do it, brothers. I think we really can do it.
Yeah, and we're actually, and that's the work we're doing now at Charter School Newcastle and Eastside Charter School as well.
That's awesome. That is, I like that. I like that. And if I could do anything to help promote, we have access to this channel. We also have access to, by the way, we do have access to, it's on tape at another station, EdTV, as well. I know I'm not supposed to say that on live, but it's live TV. Sorry.
So well, February 28th, we'd love to have everyone come out and join us at Charter School Newcastle. That's our Black History program taking place there. March 16th, we're doing a fair celebrating Blacks in Education, just the Black Journey at Eastside Charter School. Both schools are also enrolling, so for families that are interested in learning more about Charter School Newcastle, Eastside Charter School, come check the schools out. Come see what we're doing. Come see the fact that we're the only schools in all of Delaware that actually guarantee our education. We stay with children through age 23, not because we want to, it's because we feel like we have to. It's a need. It's making sure that the promises we make to a child in 2nd grade and 5th grade and 8th grade actually becomes, their vision becomes reality. And so that is the whole purpose of what we're doing. And we back it with our own scholarship funding as well. And we're partnering with everyone who wants to partner with us. So we're partnering with mayors, we're partnering with executives, we're partnering with businesses, we're partnering with HBCUs, with DSU, and with Women's University, and with UD. Whoever wants to partner and try to develop young people.
Good.
That's what we're partnering with.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I'm excited about what's going on, what you're doing, what you're about to do. I thank God for all of this, to be honest with you. As of right now, some serious things are going on, and we really have to really come together. That violence that's happening in Florida, it's not far away from here. You got to be mindful that we really have to begin to support one another in spite of. We have to really come together as a community in spite of how you look, in spite of how you talk, in spite of how you smell. We have to really do this thing. This is our community. We're 72% African American. And we will not, for some reason, do this thing. But I think it's a new day, as it is at your schools. It's a new day, and I think that we have to really do, we have to. Any other words, because I'm going to tune out, I'm going to go out and bring on HBCUs Rising Up. But any last words that you may have?
No, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to also learn more about you. It's a pleasure to represent BMEX. If you want to go on that website, it's 1000x2025. The number is 1000x2025.org. That's for BMEC. And then there's also, if you want to check out our schools, it's eastsidecharterschool.org, charterschoolnewcastle.org. Come out and see the schools, come out and learn what we're doing. For those who are interested in just partnering collaborations, contact us. You can click on those websites and you'll find also our faces there. If you want to connect with us, we're right there as well. And then for those black male educators here in Delaware, we meet the third Thursday of every month. Third Thursday of every month we gather together. And it's incredible because it's one, we share information, we share about resources. We also are there to empower each other. There's conversations that we can have in our own group that we might not be able to have somewhere else.
And where do you all meet?
We meet at 1101 Delaware Street.
Delaware Street?
Yeah, in Newcastle. So 1101 Delaware Street, Newcastle, 5:30 every third Thursday of the month.
You know, we have a restaurant, family owned, and it's called Stone Oven Pizzeria.
Okay.
We're at 729 North Union Street. We have pizza, and we also have food for your soul food. So we'll ask that you come out, visit. I guarantee you'll love it.
Would love to.
Right there on 729 U Street, another black business that we're promoting. And I'm not taking anything from any other race, but I just think that in this community, we really have to begin to do it the right way. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
and I thank you for all that you do in the lives of people. BMAC, I love it. We're going to talk some more.
We appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for all that you do in the lives of people. Again, we want to end the show. We want to show some more of this HBCUs rising up, or Rise Up HBCUs.
Yeah, tell them that
it's all going up.
Yeah. Tell them we are rising.
Don't touch that dial and check it out.
The question for African Americans has always been, what is education's purpose? Who controls it? And what is the relationship of education to the broader aspirations of our people?
The more the system denies you the chance to read and to write, the more that becomes a prize that you must have.
Black colleges were redefining what it meant to be black in America. You were pursuing a career where intellect mattered.
An educated black population could not be an enslaved black population.
If you weren't out there demonstrating, then something had to be wrong with your school.
We wanted freedom now. But whites were not prepared for any changes here.
I think they should be kept out any way possible.
A slaveholder could work a slave to death. He could rape a slave. He could do virtually anything but teach a slave how to read or write.
As soon as the war breaks out, the first thing they want is to get an education.
They wanted those schools to be as free as possible from paternalism, from racism, whether subtle or blatant.
Movements are easily birthed on HBCU's campuses.
We must love and protect each other.
We're all going through the same experience.
HBCU is somewhere where I can be completely myself.
The black college experience provides the place to be in the majority. That is such a unique and empowering experience.
This HBCU experience has taught me that anything is possible as long as you have that one spark.
Wilmington, thank you. This is my third year on the set, and it gets tough sometimes. So if you really want to help out, give me a call. Call me at area code 302-602-5149. You can go on the website, hbcude.com. You can go on Facebook. Just put your time in and come on out. We can do this thing together. I know there's some movie stars or actors in the green room that's probably going to come on and set, I don't know, but you could come on out too and then talk about what it is that you do. I thank you for all that you do in the lives of people. Thank you, Wilmington. I'm out.
question for African Americans has always been, what is education's purpose? Who controls it? And what is the relationship of education to the broader aspirations of our people?
The more the system denies you the chance to read and to write, the more that becomes a prize that you must have.
Black colleges were redefining what it meant to be black in America. You were pursuing a career where intellect mattered.
An educated black population could not be an enslaved black population.
If you weren't out there demonstrating, then something had to be wrong with your school.
We wanted freedom now. But whites were not prepared for any changes here.
I think they should be kept out any way possible.
A slaveholder could work a slave to death. He could rape a slave. The question for African Americans has always been, what is education's purpose? Who controls it? And what is the relationship of education to the broader aspirations of our people?
The more the system denies you the chance to read and to write, the more that becomes a prize that you must have.
Black colleges were redefining what it meant to be black in America. You were pursuing a career where intellect mattered.
An educated black population could not be an enslaved black population.
If you weren't out there demonstrating, then something had to be wrong with your school.
We wanted freedom now. But whites were not prepared for any changes here.
I think they should be kept out any way possible.
A slaveholder could work a slave to death. He could rape a slave. He could do virtually anything but teach a slave how to read or write.
As soon as the war breaks out, the first thing they want is to get an education.
They wanted those schools to be as free as possible from paternalism, from racism, whether subtle or blatant.
Movements are easily birthed on HBCU's campuses.
We must love and protect each other.
We're all going through the same experience.
HBCU is somewhere where I can be completely myself.
The black college experience provides the place to be in the majority. That is such a unique and empowering experience.
This HBCU experience has taught me that anything is possible as long as you have that one spark.